Hello and welcome to A Bettor Morning, presented by Rival Fantasy. I'm Heather Klein. Rival Fantasy is the all-in-one fantasy sports platform. Let's welcome today's panel. Fantasy Alarm lead NFL analyst and host of Fantasy Fiasco, Andrew Coop Cooper. Host of Her Story in the Making, Britt's Fantasy Blitz, and co-host of Lightning Round, Britt Flynn. Award-winning host, the fantasy exec, Corey Parson. And last but certainly not least, senior manager of content for Fantasy Alarm and host of the Quick Out Fantasy Football Show and Fantasy Alarm DFS shows, Jon Impemba. Welcome, everyone.
Good morning, Heather. How are you doing?
I'm groovy. How's everyone doing today?
The quad box back up and running. No three-man show.
Four box looking good. It's like Chris Hansen. Well, Scott Hansen, I'm sorry. Like Chris
Hansen.
We're not catching no predators out here today, Corey.
We should do one of these shows with the Octo box, dude. Get
for real.
Howard and Nando, get the whole goon squad in here and battle it out.
No doubt. Get the Octo box up, get us ready for the season.
That's right.
We definitely would need an hour for that one, I think.
I think so.
You guys would have a lot to say, and I think it would be TV worthy. All right, you guys ready to get it started?
Let's do it.
All right. Justin Fields passed for 2,242 yards and 17 touchdowns and rushed for an impressive 1,100 yards and 8 TDs, yet they finished last in the NFC North at 3-14. Fields enters his third NFL season, and now is the time to prove he's a great passer and can turn over wins this season. According to the odds, the Chicago Bears are not expected to make waves in the NFC North, as they are a plus 430 to win the division and are predicting they will fall again to last place. Can Justin Fields be the future of the Bears franchise, and do you see him becoming an elite passer, or will he continue to rely on his legs? Britt, you're up first.
I think he can be the future of the franchise, but I don't think that he or the Bears, for that matter, are going to change their identity that fast. I mean, he's been in the press saying that he's going to throw for 4,000 yards this year. Like, okay, but that would require him to throw the ball 10 more times per game on average than they did last year, and I really don't see that happening. It's great that he's made a connection with DJ Moore and that they finally have a legit wide receiver one, but the Bears' identity is built upon the run. Luke Getsy is known for using designed quarterback runs when he has a dual threat quarterback, and I think he'll continue to do that with Fields. That's not to say that Fields can't develop down the road as more of a passer, but the change is going to be gradual, and he's still going to incorporate a large amount of rushing work.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Fields this year in general, and a lot of people like to look at the numbers and kind of see how his overall stats went. But if you kind of look of this after the first couple of games there, where they weren't really allowing him to throw the football through the end of the season, his completion percentage is around 65%. He had that bad game to finish the year, going up against the Lions there. But between those games there, really weeks 4 to 16. 65% completion percentage. It's really not as bad as many people think he is as a passer there. They get him a top-tier wide receiver in DJ Moore that can help get open, get separation, and make easier throws when you're not throwing to guys like N'Keal Harry and was like Pettis and that crew, right? Like you're going to have some legitimate wide receivers, hopefully now on that roster there, and be able to improve his ability to throw the football.
If Justin Fields throw for 4,000 yards this season, he's going to throw a record 45 interceptions. I worry about Justin Fields as a passer, and it's not just me that worries about Justin Fields as a passer. It's his offensive coordinator and head coach as well. That's why I didn't let him do it too much last year. Now, Jon mentions he did go on a streak where he was dominant. He was excellent for fantasy. Better Boss, who is a Justin Fields supporter, is saying he's going to be number one overall scorer in fantasy this season, and that could happen. So for fantasy, I like him. Now, with that being said, handicapping purposes and being a Chicago Bear fan, I'm not so much I'm sold that he's the guy. Now, full disclosure, coming into last season, I felt the same way about Jalen Hurts. And last night, I watched Jalen Hurts be crowned the number 3 player in the NFL's top 100. So there you go. But I don't think Justin Fields is Jalen Hurts.
Honestly, I like Justin Fields for fantasy. I'm rooting for the guy. But the one thing that I don't really like is this whole attitude that he's using. And it's okay to be confident and say, I think that I can be this guy, or I hope that someday I can be this guy. But him coming out and saying, I'm going to be the first ever Bears quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards, or saying, I'm already a top 5 all-time rushing QB. That's what he said. He's already using the words all-time when this guy's played 1.5 seasons worth of football. That, to me, is something that you let other people say. You go out and play at a high level and let other people say all time. And then, maybe some point down the road where you're retired, sitting there with a cigar like Michael Jordan, then you can say, hey, I'm the best all time because you actually went out and did it already. Saying top 5 all time after a season and a half, it doesn't sit right with me. And it's putting bulletin board material out there that shouldn't be out there.
I mean, it probably is from a rushing standpoint. I mean, nobody's ran for more yards athletically for a quarterback position. He might be an all-time rushing quarterback.
But he made a list where here's the thing, John. It's so easy if you have an agent that has schooled you up on things. If you have veterans in that locker room that have schooled you up on how it goes, it's so easy to say, here are my top 5 all time, and say, I think that I can be on that list. To put yourself ahead of, with the 5 names he named, to put yourself ahead of Randall Cunningham, and also put yourself ahead of Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen.
Lamar Jackson, Michael Vick.
It's
Steve Young.
So he named those guys and left the others off. It's so easy just to say, hey, you know what? These are the guys that are on my top 5 all time. I hope to be there someday. Thank you very much.
I don't mind a guy talking confidence. That's fine by me.
Yeah. Well, confidence is one thing, but to put yourself all time,
he thinks highly of himself. You should want a guy that believes in his abilities to be the greatest. I
don't know, dude. That's the all time to me is a hindsight thing. That's something that you earn, not that you say, oh, you know what, I got it in, I'm going to do it. He didn't even say I'm going to do it. He's acting like he already did it.
And that's the problem, right? Because if you already believe that you're there, you push out the room for growth. And that's what Justin Fields needs to do, is grow as both a passer and honestly, probably as a rusher, as more teams get more and more film on him. And that's the problem that I think that Coop is alluding to, that once you push out that room for growth and you already think that you're there, then you're not really going to develop in the way that you should.
Yeah, I get in the game. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts ran for 157 yards and a half last season. You know what I'm saying? Lamar Jackson, that spin move, he's electric. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Fields does his thing rushing the football too. I don't know. I just don't see QB1 when I see Justin Fields.
He had an all-time rushing season, but does that make him top 5 all-time?
Oh, you're talking about Fields, right? Yeah.
Fields, yeah. And the Lamar Jackson, I would honestly put Lamar Jackson right there because he is there. Statistically speaking, he's put together enough seasons to actually have a career where you can say he's top 5 in all-time rushing yards, right?
You could project Lamar after his first breakout rushing year, being like, this guy's probably going to be
if he said probably, then that would have been fine.
I don't know.
RG3 could have been saying that he's top 5.
I don't have any problem somebody speaking about their skill ability if he believes in himself, so that's fine.
I have no problem.
John, you willing the highest entry fee that you pay in a fantasy league this year?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to put Justin Fields on that team?
Yeah, 100%.
I think I would. I think I would too.
I'm not going
to put him top 5 all time.
I was drafting Jalen Hurts in every league last year. I believe in these guys with their fantasy floors, and I think there's an opportunity for him to grow as a passer like he wants to anyway. So
yeah, John is the QB whisperer, but Justin Fields, players that have played 1.5 seasons aren't top 5 all time in anything.
We continue to talk fantasy football draft strategy, and to help you with your draft, get your 7-day trial of Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription and get the Fantasy Football Draft Guide and cheat sheet free. Go to fantasyalarm.com/draft. In the past, we'd wait on quarterbacks until the second or third rounds. But lately, there's a team that usually drafts a top-tier QB in the first, like Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, or Josh Allen. What is your stance on drafting your QB1? John, you're up first.
Yeah, listen, I tend to go for quarterbacks that have the rushing upside. That's just the way I go about drafting my teams. I like the floor that they have due to the rushing ability. Like I said, last year I was all in on Jalen Hurts just because of his ability to run the football. A lot of people were down, didn't think he could throw. And I saw the fact that the team went out and got him an elite wide receiver in A.J. Brown. They already had Devonta Smith, and I expected him to be in a position to be more successful than throwing to guys like Jalen Reagor and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, right? So obviously that worked for Jalen Hurts. This year I'm sort of in the same boat. I like guys that have that rushing floor because they just provide a little bit more stability to their fantasy production. So I am fine going with Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen this year. I'm okay with going at Justin Fields a few rounds later. I like Daniel Jones this year. I'm okay going with Anthony Richardson. So guys at rushing floors, I'm pretty okay with going and drafting.
So this is interesting because I think this year, more so than any other year in the past decade that I've been dominating fantasy football content, I think that I am more willing to go early for a quarterback this season. And kind of let me tell you who my quarterbacks are this year. You know, if you want to get on the executive plan, you know what I'm saying, and be a winner. I'm going early for Mahomes, Hurts, Jackson, and Burrow. I worry a little bit about Hurts with the new OC, but he keeps proving me wrong. I'm not going to go there again. Burrow worries me because of the calf strain. Allen, I'm out on. No Josh Allen. Herbert, if I can stack it with my man Big Mike Will from down the road. Love Geno Smith in those middle rounds. Love Anthony Richardson. And if I'm going late, I'm going Jordan Love.
Yeah, so I love best ball. I've done hundreds of drafts, go over to Underdog, use promo code ALARM for first-time depositors, get up to $100 they match. But I find that best ball this year is affecting redraft ADP and rankings. It's messing things up because people are so obsessed with stacking that they're taking Travis Kelce in the first round and then come back and take Mahomes to stack him. They take Diggs, they take A.J. Brown, they take Jamar Chase, and it's pushing the board up for guys like Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. And honestly, I think that it's trickling into redraft right now, and it's pushing all those guys so far up that they're being overdrafted. So personally, I'm not drafting any of those top dogs, and I'll wait a little bit, take a stab on one of the Justins maybe as my top guys, Justin Herbert or Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think last year we were seeing Mahomes go in the second, so I don't think it's that crazy because there is so much upside with those top three guys, right? But after that, there is a big tier break, and I think it's worth taking these guys with a second-round pick. Now, if you want to look at the value aspect overall, I will wait from anyone from Joe Burrow to Trevor Lawrence, and I'm super high on Justin Herbert this year. It's really not that I have a stance of where I draft quarterbacks year to year, but instead I'm looking at where the value is. Last year, as John mentioned, that was Jalen Hurts, who was going between the 6th and 8th rounds. I was super high on him, and my overall philosophy is to take value where you can find it. And this year there's a ton in that 4 to 8 range.
I saw Howard Bender pop in the chat, so I had to mix a promo code in there for Fantasy Alarm. You see the boss show up.
Company man.
Got to appease him.
Shout out to Howard Bender. If I see Howard Bender in Canton this weekend, he owes me a beverage.
In a signed dollar, right?
He definitely owes me a beverage.
Yeah. I will tell you this: for these quarterbacks, I'm loving. I mean, obviously we love Fields for the upside. I'm loving Justin Herbert this year, man. And I know that Corey, I've talked about how the Chargers perennial frauds. There's some sort of ghosts in that locker room. Maybe it's ownership, what we talked about the other day. But this guy threw for the 3rd most yards last year with Joe Lombardi as the OC, calling crazy low ADOT routes. It wasn't even the top 32 for quarterbacks, and he had cracked ribs. I think this year he could easily lead the league in passing yards. That's a bet I'm willing to put down with a sports book.
That's not actually. Listen, I think I'll be honest. I think I haven't warmed up to Herbert yet, and then putting Kellen Moore with him is like, bro, what are we doing? But I understand for fantasy purposes. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
let's put it this way: you can lead the league in passing yards and interceptions, Corey.
Yeah, exactly, and bad offensive coordinating. But if I'm Herbert, I got to get my man Big Mike Will for a bounce back season. So I'm going to have some Herbert. It pains me to do it, But I think Herbert is in for a very good statistical year.
Yeah, the ADP difference between Burrow and Herbert to me feels a little off because I think they're almost the same quarterbacks. So in terms of fantasy production, I think they can be very similar with yardage and touchdowns. You get one guy going 2 rounds later. So
I have very little Burrow for that reason. John, I got to ask you. So let's say you're on the clock. 2 Justins there. Which one are you taking?
Probably Fields. I think I've gone Fields.
The rushing upside is just too good.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know when I became that guy that can't separate. You know what I'm saying? Like the fantasy from the reality. There's 2 quarterbacks I just don't like in reality. But I mean, you guys are right. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like Tua last year, right? Mm-hmm. And then I had him on the bench in the fantasy team. And I put him in a lineup, and the team started doing good. And I was like, "Oh well."
I'll tell you what, Corey. You know what changed it for me? I watched a highlight reel where somebody flipped the camera, so it made Tua look like he was right-handed, and I was like, "Man, this guy's great." that was the day.
And I'm a Tua guy too. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. And to me, he just throw the ball in the flats. 7 yards here, 7 yards there, but whatever. I'm not going to.
I mean, he does. He just has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle run by everybody when they do. Yeah. So, you know,
he really has bought into that playbook because he's willing to, when you watch him, he's willing to turn around off the play action and just throw it with his eyes shut half the time, right? Like he's bought into that playbook.
I would listen. That Dolphins offensive line got 2 quarterbacks hurt last year, so I would keep an eye on that this year as well.
Tua is still a good value this year, too, if you believe that he's past any sort of the concussions, because the weapons around him haven't changed. So, you know, as good as they were last year throwing the football, they could very well be as good this year. And you're still getting Tua around the time you're getting Dak Prescott and like that whole crew down there. So
I'm in.
The comment about
Kenny Pickett?
Not Kenny Pickett. It was somebody else that they
Howard with Russell Wilson.
Stack Herbert with the rookie. Stay away from Mike Williams. Mike Williams, when he catch the ball, a lot of times it be in the end zone. That's why I like Mike Williams.
I mean, he could play a lot. I mean, we saw Josh Palmer play a ton of snaps last year, even with Williams and Keenan Allen on the field. It all just depends on like what role is Quentin Johnson there to fill, right? So.
I just think that Mike Williams is an elite wide receiver. That's my thing.
Yeah. And keep in mind, Gerald Everett only played more than 80% of the snaps in 2 games. Like he's kind of a rotational player. They're going to be doing a lot of 4 wide. Heather?
We got the
well, I was waiting for y'all to be done. I was waiting.
We got the juices rolling today. We got fantasy juices rolling today. I'm ready to draft with these people. Come on, let's go.
I hear you. You guys are fired up. I love it. Continuing our fantasy football draft talk, let's talk about rookies. We have to consider the rookies that will make an impact into their respective teams. Give us a guy that you're eyeing for your team this season. Coop, you're up first.
I'm up first on this one. All right.
So sorry about that.
For me, I got a pretty easy bet to make here, and people are off this guy because they want the next Tyreek Hill in Kansas City. They want a speedster. They want that exact player, but you're not going to get that player. Instead, what you got is they went out in the 2nd round and took a guy, Rashee Rice, that is good in every aspect, and he's great in one. He has incredible hands. Of all the players drafted this year, he led all the rookies, wide receivers, and tight ends in contested catches. So this guy is going to go out and play like a Keenan Allen or DeAndre Hopkins. Those are the kind of guys that have a similar skill set. Not super fast, but they can win those contested catches, make those plays. What if the Chiefs actually drafted a good wide receiver for once, and he plays with Patrick Mahomes, and we actually get what we have always wanted to see? Just a guy show up and actually make a difference right away. It could happen here. You know, just because guys like Sky Moore and MVS didn't do much doesn't mean that this guy can't come in and make an impact right away.
So I'm gonna respond to that right quick. I look at it different. I kind of look at like the Ravens thing. They keep bringing wide receivers in and they keep failing. The Patriots keep bringing wide receivers in and keep failing. So I look at Kansas City like that too. You keep bringing these speedsters in and they keep failing. So what makes me think that this is going to be different this time? But I'm telling you, my rookie that I love is JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba. This dude is elite wide receiver. And he's going to put up some 200-yard games this year. Because when he gets rolling, he gets in his bag, he's hard to stop. So JSN is my top rookie as far as who I'm willing to draft. Obviously, I'm in on Bijan. Speaking of Bijan, I told y'all a couple months ago to vote for put a couple dollars on Bijan to be the offensive player of the year. Those odds have dropped from plus 75 to 1 to 30 to 1. So that's on the move now. But I love Bijan. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the real deal. I'll take a stab on Deuce Vaughn late. Quentin Johnson I think he's going to be attached to a good offense, and then Tank Bigsby. I don't really know what the uses of Etienne is going to be, but if Bigsby was drafted, he's going to be involved. So that's where I'm at right now with this year's rookie class.
Yeah, there are several who could make an impact. I'm really looking hard at Jordan Addison to have an immediate role in this Vikings offense. They run a ton of 11 personnel, so he's going to see the field more than some of these other rookies who are going to be rotated in and out. And the news out of training camp has been very positive. If he can get that 80% route share, he's going to have fantasy value. I'm also looking at some of these tight ends, Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta, and even Luke Musgrave. They're all in situations where they could have an immediate pass catching role and kind of buck that rookie tight end stigma. Then my favorite, Jahmyr Gibbs. I won't go into it here, but I am on the pro side of the debate in our player profile debate series at fantasyalarm.com. So go check that out in the next couple days for a full breakdown.
Today it'll be published after the show.
Beautiful.
So
some jerk is on the con side.
Coop and Britt battling out the Jahmyr Gibbs debate. So go to Fantasy Alarm and check that out.
We're gonna see.
Yeah, my highest rostered wide receiver and underdog is Jalen Hyatt. So I'm looking at a wide receiver that's going very late in drafts, anyways, at ADP. But Coop and I, we talk a lot about opportunity. What's the opportunity this guy can have to actually produce an offense? And then you go look at the wide receiver depth chart over with the Giants, and there's a lot of guys that are okay, right? Isaiah Hodgins, Slayton, Shepard's hurt all the time. Paris Campbell's hurt all the time. Wandale Robinson still can't get healthy. It's a wide open field for Jalen Hyatt to find himself as a starting wide receiver for the Giants this year. He has big speed. He's a downfield threat for them. We've seen him make plays during camp. I'm good with taking a shot on Jalen Hyatt this year.
Yeah, with the Jalen Hyatt thing, I mean, especially in best ball, how many Fred Biletnikoff award winners go out and do nothing? I mean, there's a handful of them maybe, and I don't count Justin Blackmon because he had other issues off the field. When he was on the field, he was great. Like, a lot of those guys are pretty locked in. You don't think Justin Blackmon was great for the
Justin Blackmon would have been one of the greatest wide receivers of all time.
That's what I'm saying.
That dude right there had a lot of issues. But look at Kenny Britt. Kenny Britt was another one. Super duper talented, but he could not stay out the precinct.
Yeah, for real. He was it's no good when you have involved in multiple different stabbing incidents. Like
Justin Blackmon. You ever read his route sheet?
He won back-to-back. He won the Biletnikoff back-to-back. And Jalen Hyatt won. And just think about how stacked the field was last year with, and Jalen Hyatt still won. So I'm definitely in on that. And the other one that Britt mentioned, Dalton Kincaid, I'm the guy that pours cold water on the rookie tight ends most years. I wrote a big article on why it's so difficult for them to get it done. And, when you look at every factor, he checks every box for a potential rookie breakout. It's all there for him. Now he just needs to capitalize.
Well, that was easy, guys. That was easy.
We're all just excited to get our bets out there.
I know. I see it. You guys are fired up. All right, let's just get to it. What's your bet of the day, Coop?
Yeah, so I got one here. I'm tired of tying everybody's money up for full NFL season, so I'm going to a different sport here. A sport that I'm quietly a big fan of. I've been to a ton of races. I always go to the one in New Hampshire all the time. Been to a few others, but this week you have a road course coming up. Anytime it's a road course, I simply like to pick the best driver, the best wheelman, and in that case, that's Kyle Busch. Going to Indianapolis for a 200-lap road course. I'm willing to bet him to win that at plus 1,000. And I'll take it even farther. I'm betting Kyle Busch to win this whole dang thing this year. Plus 750 to win everything. When you look at the schedule for the playoffs, you go to Bristol, where he's swept entire weekends there. The truck race, the regular race, the second race. They're going to go to Las Vegas, where he literally lives. And Homestead is in the last race this year. It's going to be in Phoenix, a race that he's highly capable of crushing everybody else at. So give me Kyle Busch this week. Give me Kyle Busch every week. Give me Kyle Busch to win the whole thing.
So after hitting both yesterday, let's run it back with another baseball bet with Mookie Betts over 1.5 hits at plus 135. Betts has been on a hitting streak lately with 11 hits over the past 7 games. And in 4 of those games, he's hit this mark. It's the consistency aspect for me. Tonight, he'll be facing Brandon Pfaadt, who has an ERA of 7.11 and an 0-5 win-loss record. And Mookie has been super hot with a 3.67 average over the past 7 games. His batting average is .254 against the Diamondbacks in his career, but going up against Pfaadt, I have confidence he'll hit this line tonight.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to that Braves-Pirates game here tonight. We're going to go with Mitch, the Braves team total, rather, over 5.5 runs. Mitch Keller, last 6 starts, has an ERA of 7.5, given a 20 and earned over 33 2/3 innings. Braves offense is just a juggernaut, so we're going to go over 5.5 team runs for them today.
Where's the baseball game at?
It's in Pittsburgh.
Oh, you live in Pittsburgh?
I don't live in Pittsburgh.
I thought you said you was going to the game.
No.
Oh, my bad.
I would love to go to the game, honestly. Actually, I heard Pittsburgh's at one of the better baseball parks in the MLB.
Road trip, John. Let's do it.
I give you a week 1. You're gonna need to get this because this is going when people notice this is going to change. Right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are getting the full 3 points at home in week 1 versus San Francisco. I wouldn't be surprised if they won the game outright, like San Francisco did lose to the Bears in week 1 last year. You know I'm in on Kenny Pickett. You know how I feel about Mike Tomlin. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be a borderline playoff team this year, and I think they get it started right at week 1 at home versus and then Mike Tomlin as a home dog is like 65%, something like that. So that should be easy money. That number's going to go to 2.5. So get it while it's at 3. So you push if they do lose. I would money line it.
Smashing San Francisco in that game.
Oh, really? Who's going to be San Francisco's quarterback? Sam Darnold?
Doesn't matter. They got the best running back. They had the best left tackle. They got the best fullback. They had the best 2-way tight end.
Fan. I can understand your disdain towards the Steelers.
Oh yeah, I admit that Mike Tomlin's awesome, but Kenny Pickett. I'm willing to take stabs on him in fantasy because it's
he's free.
He's free, but in betting money on him in week 1, no.
All right, you guys brought it today, and you guys were spicy. That was today's edition of A Bettor Morning. Thank you to Corey, Britt, Coop, and Jon. Make sure you check out Moose and Keith with Mark Malusis and Keith Irizarry at 12 p.m. Eastern. And if you missed any of our shows, you can find them all on our YouTube channel and at bettorsports.com. We wish everyone a better day.